I didn't want to get going too far ahead, but there's such a big list. I'm like, man, I could do a couple. Charlie Brandt. Did you see this one?
I did not.
Okay, well, they're calling him a serial killer. And this, we're using serial killer hard, so it's like, what's the definition? I want a definition here. A serial killer is also called a serial murderer. It's a person who murders 3 or more people.
3, okay.
With the killings taking place over a significant period of time in separate events. Their psychological gratification is the motivation for the killings.
So let me ask you this real quick. So if somebody went in one day, shot 4 people, they wouldn't be a serial killer. They'd be a spree killer.
Right. Because it's not over a period of time.
Right. There's got to be some separation between. Okay.
Right. So it says here, it goes on to say, many serial murders involve sexual contact with the victim at different points during the murder process. The United States Federal Bureau of Investigation states that the motives of serial killers can include anger, thrill-seeking, financial gain, attention-seeking, and the killings may be executed as such. The victims tend to have things in common, such as demographic, appearance, gender, race. As a group, which we have to say it's a group now, serial killers suffer from a variety of personality disorders. Most are often not educated as insane. They're not considered insane, most of them. Although a serial killer is a distinct classification that differs from that of a mass murderer, a spree murderer, a contract killer. There are overlaps in between. Okay. I don't want to get too far into that one. There's some weeds you can get in on that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to be sure as I'm reading through this list that this is in fact why they're calling them serial killers. So Carl Eric, nicknamed Charlie Brandt, born in 1957, died in 2004. He was an American serial killer who murdered at least 4 female victims. 1, guess where? Indiana. And 3 others in Florida. He grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. This is where it starts. He shot his parents in their family home January 1971 when he was 13 years old. Killed his pregnant mother and wounded his father.
Oh, boy.
He spent 1 year at a psychiatric hospital before being released and was never criminally charged. On September 13th of 2004, Brandt stabbed his wife and niece to death and then hung himself in his niece's garage. They wrote hanged himself, but I like to say hung himself.
Right.
This incident, Brandt's efficiency in killing his wife and niece and his hidden obsession with human anatomy led investigators to look into the possibility that he had committed other murders since moving to Florida in 1973. The 1989 murder of a homeless woman near his home was solved as a result of the investigation. So that's when I said earlier about there's usually findings that they've done way more than they've been caught for. Mm-hmm. They have been slick enough to somehow get away with some of it. But, we also brought up the fact that these days, with the science of DNA, with cameras and geocaching or whatever they call it, geo-spotting or whatever on your devices and things like that, you can't get too far from things. Let's see what else. He was also a suspect in 3 other Florida murders, but his true number of victims could potentially be more than 30. It's pretty shocking, though. They talked about when he shot his mom and dad. So on the evening of January 3rd, 1971, after their children had turned in for the night in their Fort Wayne, Indiana home, Herbert Brandt was shaving in the bathroom while Ilsa, 8 months pregnant, was taking a bath. Charlie Brandt, then age 13, abruptly walked into the bathroom and shot both parents at point-blank range with his father's handgun, which he had taken from a dresser. His father survived, but his mother and the fetus were killed instantly. Brandt then entered his sister Angela's room and attempted to shoot her, but the gun would not fire. After a struggle, Angela managed to calm her brother down by promising him that she would help him figure out what to do. She eventually convinced Brandt to go upstairs to retrieve blankets for their infant sisters who were unharmed, before fleeing the house and seeking help from the neighbors. After pursuing his sister outside, Brandt knocked on a neighbor's door telling her, quote, "I just shot my mom and dad," unquote. Herbert later identified his son as his attacker. After the shooting, Brandt had told Angela that he could not remember what he had done. Angela described her brother as being in a trance-like state, which only broke during their struggle. Upon being interviewed by police, Brandt attributed the shooting to a combination of things related to school, stating that everything sort of just snapped in my mind. I felt like I never felt before. Brandt alluded to an incident that took place a few days before the shooting near the end of his family's annual Christmas vacation in Florida, in which he shot... Herbert, their dad, shot and killed their dog while the two were hunting. Interesting.
Accidentally?
I don't know. It doesn't say. Let me see.
Or the dog was going to scare the deer off.
I don't know. Maybe the dog was sick. Maybe he didn't want to take it home. I don't know. So 3 separate psychiatric evaluations failed to determine what triggered the shooting. Because he was too young to be tried for murder under Indiana state law, Brandt spent 1 year at a psychiatric hospital before being released back to the custody of his family in June of 1972. The family never spoke of the incident again. Until 2004, Brandt's 2 younger sisters had lived under the impression that their mother had been killed in a car accident.
Interesting.
Shortly after his release, his family relocated to Florida. 1 year later, his father, who had remarried, and 2 younger sisters moved back to Indiana, while Brandt and Angela stayed behind under the care of their grandparents. In 1984, Brandt received a degree in electronics and became a radar specialist for Ford Aerospace. In 1986, he married his girlfriend, Teresa. No relatives were invited to the wedding. It's a shotgun wedding.
Ta-ding.
Oh, shit. His sister Angela and her husband Jim had advised Brandt to tell Terry about the murder of their mother, but it is unclear whether he ever did or not. The couple settled in a beach house on Big Pine Key in 1989. So now we go to 2004. Brandt and Terry evacuated their home because of Hurricane Ivan. Their niece, Michelle Jones, invited them to stay at her residence near Orlando. Throughout the visit, Jones kept in contact with her mother, Mary Lou, as well as several friends. On the evening of September 13th, one of Jones' friends, Lisa Emmons, was scheduled to visit her house. However, Jones discouraged her from coming, saying that the Brandts had an argument after drinking. On September 15th, another one of Jones' friends, Debbie Knight, went to her house to check on her while on the phone with Jones's mother. After finding the front door locked, Knight tried to enter the house through the garage, where she found Brandt's decomposing body hanging from the rafters. He had hanged himself using bed sheets. Knight contacted the police, who entered the house and found the bodies of Brandt's wife and niece. Terry had been stabbed 7 times in the chest while lying on a couch. Jones had been decapitated and disemboweled, with her heart and organs removed, and her head was placed next to her body.
Gross.
The weapons used in the crimes had been knives from the kitchen. Following the discovery of the bodies, a search of Brandt's residence on Big Pine Key revealed that he was a monthly subscriber to Victoria's Secret catalogs, had an extensive collection of surgery-themed books, posters, and clippings, and regularly searched online for autopsy photos and snuff film websites depicting violence against women. Police determined that Brandt's murder of Jones indicated past experience, and because he traveled often due to his job, police checked cold cases in Florida that matched his apparent modus operandi. They launched requests for similar inquiries in the U.S. and abroad. The investigation uncovered evidence linking Brandt to the 1989 murder of a woman near his home. That's the homeless woman they talked about.
Okay.
That woman was 38-year-old Sherry Parisho. Her partially clothed body was found on July 16, 1989, floating in the water near the North Pine Channel Bridge at Big Pine Key, where she lived on a dinghy. She lived on a boat. Her throat had been slashed, her head had been nearly severed, and like Jones, her body was extensively mutilated and her heart was removed. Parisho was found less than 1,000 feet from where Brandt lived, and Brandt matched a composite sketch of a man seen crossing U.S. Route 1 near where Parisho was discovered on the night she was murdered. Terry had further confided in her brother-in-law that she suspected Brandt in the Parisho killing and that he had come home with blood on his shirt that night. Which he claimed was from filleting a fish. Based on this evidence, investigators determined that Brandt killed Parisho and officially closed the case in May 6, 2006. So in other words, if I'm putting this together right, his wife told his niece, I think he killed that homeless woman by the house.
Mm-hmm. And then she ends up dead.
Yeah, well, both of them.
Yeah.
And then doing the weird thing, ritualistic type of thing for disemboweling, taking out the insides,
Yuck.
pulling the heart out, cutting the head off like a autopsy, like it's some kind of experiment or something,
Right.
like a dissecting a frog or something almost.
Yeah. Talk about hands-on.
This one,
got to get elbows deep in that.
yeah. I mean, this one says that ultimately the search prompted police to reinvestigate other unsolved murders in Florida dating back to 1973. Aside from the 1989 Parricho murder, there was not enough evidence to conclusively link him to these other crimes. However, 3 cases that were determined to have been of particular interest were 1978, Carol Sullivan, 12 years old, was abducted from a school bus stop. Her skull was found in a bucket, leading authorities to presume she was murdered and decapitated. Brandt was 21 and lived in the same area at the time, but could not be tied to the crime any other way than proximity.
Yeah, right. Circumstantial.
10 years later, in 1988, Lisa Saunders, age 20, was beaten, stabbed, and dragged from her car in Big Pine Key, where he lived. Her heart was missing, but it was unclear if it was extracted by an attacker or eaten by vultures. I'm thinking it was this guy.
Probably.
1995, Darlene Toller, age 38, was from Miami. Her body, missing her head and heart, was wrapped in plastic and blankets and discovered dumped in a grassy area near a highway. Brandt used the same highway regularly, and he kept a mileage record of his travels, which shows an entry for 100 miles on the day of the murder. Roughly the driving distance between Big Pine Key and the area where they found her body.
Same MO, too.
And he's charging mileage to his work, to his job.
55 cents a mile.
Guys, I drove 100 miles, but the MO is there with the taking the heart out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you can't say for sure, but I mean, it's right in the neighborhood there.
Good possibility.
So again, they said he could be tied to up to 30 other ones than what they actually knew. So he had his mother, his unborn sibling, his niece, his wife, the homeless woman.
Right.
So that's 5 over several years from the 70s through the 90s. That ticks off all the boxes of the serial killer description as far as like the ritualistic stuff, certain things about them. They were all female.
Yeah. Certainly the disemboweling, removing the heart, that I don't know how often that comes up, but that would lead someone to believe those are all related.
I believe if we continue on this path, we'll probably come across quite a few of these like this.
Yeah, I would have bet.
There was an article done from the Orlando Sentinel in 2006, right after all this went down, and it says here that the wife had suspected him all along. So there's times where the wife told people that she thought it was him. So my guess is maybe he thought that was that was the way to shut him up.
Yeah, but then he also just decided to off himself too.
Yeah. Probably not seeing a way out of it.
Yeah.
It was probably like, my goose is cooked. So they said the girl had told her friend the couple had argued. I have to imagine the argument was,
why are you killing all these people?
Yeah. I know you did it.
Where are you going?
She only knew that one night she put it together right by the house, 1,000 feet from the house.
Yep.
Woman gets killed. He comes home that same night with
Bloody.
a bloody shirt. I know you did it. Go turn yourself in. Quit being a bastard about it. The only reason they were even at the other house was because a hurricane came through.
Mm-hmm.
So now the niece is hearing this, and he's thinking, oh, shit.
Yep.
I can't.
Somebody's going to tell somebody.
So
he's got all those bodies on his
So it's odd,
list.
though, that he only stabbed the one, but then beheaded and took the heart out of the other. Was that his wife?
Yeah.
Now I got to go back. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So like his niece, I'll just stab you 7 times. But my wife, she's going to get that heat, heat of the moment, passion, thing.
Even though he killed his niece, maybe there's a bit of sort of sorrow there, like, oh,
I didn't want to do this.
Can't bring himself to do that, but
yeah.
You wouldn't think that on your wife either, but sometimes the people that you love the most, you hate the most.
That's true. You walk that fine line because they're the ones that you let control your emotions at times where they can set you off at a moment's notice. You're giving them that power because you're so comfortable with them.
Well, who's always the main suspect? The husband or wife, or
pushing
somebody
my
close.
buttons, wouldn't shut up, wouldn't give me the remote.
Yep.
It's but maybe there's something else too with killing family members, because like you were saying, it's usually somebody that you're really close to. And was he that mad at Dad for killing the dog that he just figured I'll shoot him?
But then to kill his mom,
the mom's right there,
mom too. So his unborn sibling.
He had to be quick on the trigger to take her out and then hurry up and shoot Dad both at point blank. Because I mean, you'd think if Dad was shaving, even if he wasn't noticing him,
first shot,
but he comes pushing in on him at point blank.
Well. I guess maybe shoot Dad first, kind of incapacitate him, and Mom's in the tub. Takes her a minute to get up.
Your mother's naked. Get out. That's usually the first reaction. You don't get out.
Right.
Get out of the bathroom.
Right.
Who knows what Mom and Dad just did?
Yeah, but if he took Dad out first or tried to, then Mom's she's wet and slippery and pregnant and trying to get up and get out. So. Who knows? It
seems like maybe that wasn't even able to be attempted.
Yeah, and thank God that it jammed on his sister, or she would have been next.
And how do kids, because she was 14 or something like that, I think it said. She had the forethought to say,
the presence of mind to talk him down.
Let's go get some blankets.
Yep.
For the babies, for the other two kids.
We'll figure this out.
And she ran out the door.
Yep.
And then he was like, oh, shit, I'm going to get got. So he ran out the door to chase her. Doesn't know where she went, knocks on the neighbor's door. He's like, well, it sounds like he just like a defeatist attitude. Well, I guess I'm caught. Knock on the door. Yeah. Hey, I just shot my parents.
Yeah.
So now go forward to the niece and the wife. Well, I guess I better hang myself.
Yeah, no getting out of this.
I mean, I'll just be blunt and say he did the taxpayers a favor.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to be that way about human life, but if you're if we know 100% you did it, we don't need to waste time feeding you three squares a day.
Yeah, I got no sympathy for the guy.
Be done. Yeah, no. So just it's an odd thing with family though. Like even however many years that was later, he was 13 when he did that to his parents, and then as an adult male did that to his niece and his wife. Like, I think it all had to do with, by then, the fact that his wife was on to him and probably angered him. But then,
What's the motivation for the ones in between?
Well, it said that he had the books. I don't know why they brought up Victoria's Secret. I mean, everybody likes a good lingerie mag once in a while in their life. But the books on autopsies. If you see that in the mail, so what are you doing with this? Mm-hmm. You can tell me you're gutting fish. It's an autopsy book.
Right.
It's odd.
Yeah.
They don't talk about so they brought up the other 3 related cases, but there was up to 27 others that were investigated that they're not going to name them all here.
Yeah, no definitive proof, but they've got a good idea. At least it matches that he could be the top suspect.
So I'll end it on this because this is a trip. This could probably be its own episode. How about this as a preview for another episode?
Okay. All right. Give him a teaser.
This is a list of serial killers with the highest known victim count.
Wow. Okay.
So this is the part that I said when I put a little thing out that said we're talking about serial killers just in Indiana. Either they passed through, or this was their ground zero, whatever. And it's more than you would think. Well, this is worldwide. This list is worldwide. So there's a guy. We'll get into more detail later because there's details on these guys. But this was in Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela. This guy got around, and he was up to 300 plus possible victims.
300.
Another guy, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, 300 plus. A guy in Pakistan, over 100. A guy in Russia, over 85. A guy went Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil, alleged in Brazil, 180. Another guy in Brazil, 100 plus. Another guy in India, 70 plus. Another guy in Afghanistan, 300 plus.
Wow.
United States, 93. I'm just scrolling through the list here. I'm not even reading them all off,
How did they
dude.
even get that high without getting caught first?
Soviet Union, 100 plus. A former Ukrainian police criminal investigator. Romanians, Yugoslavians, Hungary, Mexico, United States.
Murder has no boundaries.
It's the counts are insane, some of these.
Yeah.
John Wayne Gacy's on the list.
33?
They think 45 or more, possibly.
Okay.
I think yes, it says proven 33.
Sure.
So the highest body count that's proven, the guy traveled 3 different countries, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela. Proven 193.
Boy, oh boy.
And I can't even tell you if this, how recent this is, but that guy just died in October of 2023. He was eligible for parole.
Really?
He was scheduled to be eligible for parole, but he died before it.
He's doing his part to...
And they have proven 193, and yet he was up for parole.
You would like to think that some of these people are taking out bad guys, but I'm sure there's a lot of innocent victims there. A lot. It's horrible. 193. You don't get caught after the first 50?
Yeah. Because the other part of this is too, like I've narrowed it to Indiana because I'm interested to know how many have run through here. Yeah. And I came up with like the list was like 26 or something like that. But as far as killers identified as serial killers, when you click the tab to go search the United States, I mean, we could
hundreds.
This could be a couple years of worth of episodes.
Yeah.
We could do twice a week and not get through this list. It's wild. And again, they all have to fit that criteria of more than 3 over
a period of time. A cooling off period, as they say.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. And then I'll have more dreams.
Maybe you can finish the rest of the story.
I'll add to my story. It'll be so twisted. Maybe there's a part of me that wants to try for that list.
There you go.
Try for the top of that list. I guess I don't know. I guess it could be in there.
Well, if your wife comes up missing,
no.
This will be evidence exhibit 1.
There's got to be a motive. She ain't got no money.
The dreams. The dreams told you to do it.
She's on my bank account, so I know she ain't got no money. Because I ain't got no money.
Yeah, the dreams made me do it. There you go.
I was having a dream.
You'll be out in 6 months.
I was having a dream. There's definitely been some weird instances where people have been on medications and and sleepwalking and murdered and things like that, and that would just, you'd feel so horrible if you hurt a loved one.
A blackout you didn't realize.
That'd be so bad.
I always wonder if that is legit or if that's just a convenient excuse.
I have to think, man, the times that I've been under some prescription stuff and had weird side effects and things, I have to imagine at some point at least 1 out of a million
right
could very possibly be
just legit just did not understand what they were doing.
A reaction to that medicine. Maybe that's what's lingering in my brain for this guy losing the body parts. I don't know.
Maybe.
But there's so much more to talk about. We're definitely going to get there. I'm not going to shill it, but if you want to see the video episodes, get over there on Patreon. And also maybe we'll throw the hotline out there at some point and try to get some people talking to us.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Maybe they had some wild dreams.
Maybe we'll get an actual serial killer
to call in. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Hello, motherfucker.